Hey everybody, welcome to Pastor Play. So we have Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, Season 1, Episode 7, Season Finale, titled The Thing Lay Still, streaming on AMC Plus and airing later tonight on AMC the channel. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, you can always come back later. If not, let's get into it. So a couple of truths are revealed in this episode, and one of them is Louis got himself a new vampire sugar daddy. And, there's also a mastermind here, but who is it? And can they, again, they say some people are playing chess and others are playing checkers. So is everybody as smart as they think they are? Or, who's going to win the game? And so we open up with Daniel looking at Rashid outside at like, is this the same guy from my memory, from my dream? From back in 1970s at that bar in San Francisco that night, or is this like the grandson or something, or the son, or like who is this? Is this like a doppelganger? Like how many drugs or how drunk was I that night? And so we go back to the interview, and Daniel ask Louis, basically are immortals, can they die? And Louis like, yes. There's a couple ways actually. You got starvation of blood, drinking the blood of the dead, burning the body alive with fire, and last but not least, decapitation. And we basically go back to the past. And, at this point, Lestat has become more paranoid now, I guess, from losing that game of chess with Claudia. And he does know that they are talking, about him, in their minds telepathically, and he did force her to stay. So he's like, hey, I get that you hate me now. So, we should get closer. I want you to move your coffin back into, our room with me, with me and Louis, and having them all closer to kind of loathe each other. Lestat is just doing it, out of spite. But Claudia's like, okay, just fueling the fire, and she plans her attack on Lestat. She doesn't tell Louis, everything that she's going to do, but she says, I will need your help. I need you basically to distract him, keep the pretenses up. I'm just going to be me, but you do you. He's going to suspect me more than you, so just keep keep doing what you're doing. And one night, a man with cancer comes to their house asking for help. And Lestat just kills him, but that man hasn't been the only one coming that night. This has been going on for a while now. People in the town are just growing more and more suspicious of them. People, they brought dolls and Bibles and letters, in front of their house. Some cursing them, calling them devils, evil. Other people think they may be angels, and they've discovered a fountain of youth, and they just want them to basically share the information. Either way, Lestat is like, next it will be torches and pitchforks. If we stay here any longer, we have overstayed our welcome. We got to leave New Orleans, and at this point, Claudia and Louis, they kind of agree, like, yeah, we have to go somewhere else. So one night they all go see a movie, and Lestat ends up mind controlling this other movie watcher to start slapping himself, because he keeps shushing them when while they're talking at the movie. And with Lestat, he is kind of convinced more in the sense that it was his idea to throw Mardi Gras ball, where he will be king before they leave for where they decide to go to, which is Buenos Aires. And Claudia is just basically using Lestat's ego against him. We can throw this big ball, we can feed on all these people, it'll be easy, under the lieu of people being drunk and partying everywhere. You know, our one last big hurrah before we go. And, you know, eventually, basically, Lestat just kind of gives in. You know, it plays his ego. He can be, you know, king of the ball. They go to Tom, who's, you know, part of the representatives of the of that area, or the part of the you know, part of the commission board, whatever, to basically let the Mardi Gras be about, you know, them. And people, you know, will come for the entry to kind of see Lestat, Claudia, and Louis, you know, all in about. And so, you know, Lestat says, you know, they're all going to starve themselves, and they're going to have this feeding frenzy on selected individuals that they end up pinning this amaranth flower on, and then they're going to bring them back to their house, you know, basically to feed. But then, of course, with this, you know, Claudia plans to poison, you know, either one or some of the individuals. And by doing that, when Lestat drinks from them, you know, she'll end up poisoning Lestat to kill him. And so we go to the party begins, you know, it's lavish, people talking, drinking and dancing. Louis kind of looks like he could be, you know, in House of the Dragon with the wig that he got on. Some people look weird. Some people are like giant poodles with the little hairs all fluffed up walking around. You know, but either way, Louis and Lestat, they end up kind of dancing in the middle of like the ball's dance room, and they end up like kissing. And you know, people like stop and like, okay. And then some people end up leaving the party. You know, but the selections are made for the final meals, and you know, Claudia has to bite Louis on his arm to kind of, you know, snap him out of Lestat's love kind of dazed gaze that he has. She's like, "Look here, we got a plan here. You know, we have to, you know, kill him, and you out here all lost in his eyes, and then the dancing and all of it. You know, just get yourself back together." The connection that Louis has to Lestat, Claudia ain't feeling it at all. She's like, fuck you, Lestat." You know, Louis is just kind of lost at it, and Claudia is not. And you know, so with the 8 selected guests back at their home, you know, Lestat is telling them the story about this book with some kind of mage that had the recipe for the elixir of life, aka fountain of youth. And you know, they kind of go down the road, and Claudia's like, I was born this year, but you know, I'm now 36. Louis was like, I was born this year, now I'm 61. Lestat was like, I was born this year, and now I'm 180. And you know, they have this kind of setup where they have like this punch bowl with a top on it, and you know, Tom opens the lid off the punch bowl like, me first, hoes, because you know, he's thinking that the fountain of youth or whatever, this special water is inside of this punch bowl. And you know, when he opens it up, it's empty, you know. And it's like, psych, bitch, just like you set us up to meet you while the popo searched our house over 17 years ago. Remember that, hoe? Okay, so you know, back to the story and the review. Anyway, Lestat is like, "Oh, not for long, Tom," and he jumps over the table and he starts drinking Tom. You know, drinking Tom's blood and killing him. People, the other 7 guests, they start, you know, running around, screaming, trying to get out of there. They've already like chained the doors shut, and Louis pulls a man's jaw out of his mouth, and then he ends up drinking and killing him. And then, you know, we get the last 2 that are alive, the twin brothers, and they end up killing one of the twins, and then the other twin they leave alive for Lestat to come and drink out of. They have him like kind of sitting in the chair, and you know, Lestat's like, I wanted both of them, and they were like, no, well, we got, you know, Louis couldn't help himself, so we saved this one for you. And you know, Lestat ends up like taking this fingernail and like sticking the dude in the neck, and blood starts like kind of coming out like a spout kind of a thing. And he's like, I smell rosemary and something else. And then that's when this body, this kind of it looks like a man in a mask, but when the mask comes off the person's face, it turns out to be Antoinette, who now is a vampire. And she's like, arsenic and some other chemical. And then she starts reciting the convo between Louis and Claudia about poisoning one of the twins. And then, Antoinette, she grabs Claudia to force her to drink from the twin. And, Lestat holds Louis from helping Claudia. And, he tells Louis that, Claudia, doesn't fit within, she has corrupted them and she doesn't fit anymore. But Antoinette will be a much better substitute and a much better, person to fit their duo, so I guess they can have freaky threesomes. I don't know, Louis not interested in Antoinette either way. But as Lestat is holding Louis, Lestat starts coughing up blood or throwing up blood. And, Claudia ends up breaking free of Antoinette, and she uses this fire poker to kill that hoe. And turns out Antoinette had been a vampire and eavesdropping on Claudia and Louis' combos since Claudia tried leaving on the train. And it also turns out Claudia didn't poison the twin, but Tom. Claudia like, gotcha, bitch. And Lestat's like, how? And at the ball was when Claudia put that poison in Tom's drink. And, again, Lestat killed Tom first before he started, kind of rampaging on that party, with everybody else. And, Claudia's like, I've been known that Antoinette has, been alive, or not even been alive, has been a vampire and following us. She's like, you really should have let me go on that train. If you let me go on that train, we wouldn't be here right now. And, and after that, she's like, Louis, you need to say your goodbyes. And, basically Claudia, she outfoxes the fox. Claudia, and she ends up going and like beating up on Antoinette some more, who's like all on the ground with the sticker in her chest. Louis, he cuts Lestat's throat, and Lestat bleeds out. Claudia and Louis, they started to go clean up their mess. They started incinerating the bodies from the party, and they end up burning Antoinette alive in the incinerator. They roll Lestat's body up in a carpet, and they put it in a trunk that they leave out for the garbage, for the next day. And then from there, Claudia and Louis, they get on a newly bought ship, that they paid for Tom, and then they head to Europe. And so we go back in present time, and Daniel's like, hold up, wait a minute, I'm not hearing all the truth in this. It don't sound right to me. And he's like, y'all trying to play me for a fool. Like, I paid a fool. Because it seems like Claudia from her diary was mad at you, for whatever reason. I can't really tell because these 2 cutout pages that she apparently used a ruler with kind of contextually says that. And, Daniel's like, where does the trash go? Where the trash go? Tell me where the trash goes. And he's like, because I used to live 2 blocks away from a dumpster when I was a kid. And, he basically is like, Louis, the trash goes to the dumpster, where there are these mutant rats, the size of possums, for Lestat to feed on, because you gave him mercy. You didn't kill him. You couldn't make yourself do it. And they do give like a flashback of him stopping Claudia because he couldn't kill Lestat, so he basically just kind of leaves Lestat, in a weakened state in some dumpster in a junk, in a trash yard, to slowly regain his strength. And that's basically it, because Claudia was fine with Lestat dying, but not Louis. And Louis gets up and he walks away. He goes like off to another room. Daniel follows him, saying, you're not being honest with me now. Just like Finn back in the 1970s. I'm just a $10 million whore paid to listen to you. And then Rashid's like, wait, it's only half the story, and you kind of need to stop Daniel, because Daniel's like pushing at Louis, and Louis doesn't always have the best self-control. So Rashid's like, you need to stop and calm down before he kills you. And then Rashid starts like flying. He takes out the contacts out of his eyes. And then it turns out Rashid is really Armand, a 514-year-old vampire who can fly. He can be out in the sun because of how old he is. And, he is also the love of Louis' life. And it just more or less ends there. I can honestly say this felt more like a mid-season finale than a season finale to me. 7 episodes. I don't know. Are we like on the Disney Channel or the Disney app? But okay. I mean, it is what it is. We do know that they are going to Europe, so that's where this episode. I mean, that's where the new season is going to take place. But I mean, it was kind of slow in the beginning. I mean, of course, they were building up to to that party, to the party, to that dinner, to that feeding frenzy. Really, the party was okay. It was really not necessarily anything special about it. um but you know I still can't wait for season 2 though. But it really got good once they were all back at the house, from the Mardi Gras, with the guests. Louis, is conflicted with wanting to kill Lestat and just wanting them. Claudia really being the mastermind here, steps ahead of everybody. Um, she was ahead of everybody. And, she was just out Lestat and Lestat. And, she was nobody, Antoinette was thinking one thing, Lestat was thinking one thing, Louis was thinking one thing, and she playing chess with everybody, and everybody is not aware of what's happening on the game board. So that was cool. Um, you know, you know, assuming Louis met Armand in Europe, but what is that story? Is just gonna make Lestat a better vampire or a worse vampire? Was that just kind of let them go, or will he get revenge? Is Lestat any match for Armand, who's older than him? Where's Claudia? What happened to Grace's family? What about their legacy? So many other questions and answers I want. Dang it, So we're gonna see what happens in season 2. I mean, it was an okay season finale. Ironically, I may say it's probably maybe my least favorite episode. The last like 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of the episode was really good. The first half was like okay. I mean, but again, they were building up until the ball, so I get it. But yeah, that first half is just kind of boring, um, to me. Yeah, that's the only thing I can really say. But other than that, I get it. They're building up the story, but I mean, we'll see what happens. It's But so overall, I like the season. Again, it still felt like a mid-season episode. Like if they had 14 episodes, this would have been like the mid-season before they have that kind of like hiatus break, and then they come back for the rest of the season. That's just literally what this episode felt like. So that's the only thing about this episode, But it's 7 episodes. It's so short. It could be because of budget, or maybe it was because of COVID. Who knows? But either way, I wish it was a little bit longer. But other than that, you know, it's I. I'm glad Antoinette's dead though. The fact that Louis thought that that killing Claudia and then bringing Antoinette in the fold was going to go over well with Louis. I don't see how that was even going to work. Uh, so that wasn't going to work out. Even if that had ended up being what had happened, that was not going to work out. Whatever that dynamic was going to be. So that was just stupid. But Lestat is selfish and he only thinks of himself and he operates in his own space, which ironically is what ends up being his undoing. His pettiness, his arrogance, his ego. It was probably smart to turn Antoinette into a vampire so she could hear the thoughts of what was going on between Louis and Claudia, but in the end, it still backfired because Claudia caught on to that. Like, Claudia is like, I ain't no idiot. I've been know this whole life, and now you a dead hoe. So, yeah, right. And Lestat is, trying to get his life back together. So, honestly, I can't wait to see what happens in the second season. I know from the books. I know from some of the books that Armand is a very important character. So, of course, people who read the books, you guys would know way more than I do. But has this really been following along the path of, I guess, that first interview with the vampire books? Are they? I know they're probably taking some liberties and how they're kind of moving the story. But if you like this review, hit the like button. If you have any comments, comment below. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. Trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And people have been watching these interview with the vampire reviews, but a lot of people have not been subscribed. I don't know if it's the same people or different people, but please subscribe. And I will either way, I'll see you all next time, and goodbye.